It's August 3rd. It's August 31st, 2020, and we're reading from Philosophy Discussions. Srila Prabhupada discussing the philosopher Leibniz, Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. And so Shama Sundar says, he likens the soul and the body to two synchronized clocks, both going at the same speed, but separate. Prabhupada, yes, the soul is separate from the body, but the body is going, the body is being manifested on account of the soul's desire. Just like a young child desires how he will become a youth. He sees the youthful energy, gradually he develops or changes his body to a youthful body. Shamasundar, then is the body really affecting the soul? Does the body really have a causal influence on the soul? Prabhupada, no, the soul is unaffected by the body, but the body is helping the soul to fulfill its desires. Just as I am taking the help of this microphone to serve my purpose, but microphone is not influencing me. It is not that microphone is willing that I shall dictate. It is not like that. Shamasundar, his idea is that the body has a monad and the soul has a monad. They are two different monads. Prabhupada, the body is a combination of atoms. If Krishna is within the atoms, the monads of the atoms and the monads in the body are different. Shamasundar, so that although the monad of the body is acting, Prabhupada, what is the meaning of monad? Shamasundar, the only meaning I know is that it means unity or oneness, a small particle of unity or oneness. Prabhupada, that is super soul. Super soul, although it appears many, innumerable, it is one. Ekatvam anupashyata. That is Ishopanishad. Although we find there are many super souls, but there is one. Yomam pashyati sarvatra. In the Bhagavad Gita, one who sees me in everything and sees everything in me, he is really seeing. That is oneness. That means they have no clear idea, but trying to theorize something. Clear idea is in the Vedic literature. Shamasundar, he says that God creates the principle of pre-established harmony. Just like he sets two clocks in motion, both synchronized, but one is the body and one is the soul, even though they're going together. Prabhupada, the body is separate from the soul. We say that. Shamasundar, just like the body is acting, but the soul is independent. It's not really affected by the body. Prabhupada, yes, that's all right. We agree. Shamasundar, so they are like two clocks going at the same synchronization, but not together. They are separate. Prabhupada, but why two clocks? What is the relationship between the body and the soul? You cannot analyze separately. The body and the soul, they are practically combined. That example is not complete. They are two individual clocks. They are not combined. So therefore, there is fallacy of analogy. If there is no common point, you cannot have analogy. Shamasundar, the common point is that they say the same time. They have the same time. Prabhupada, but at the same time, gradually one clock goes slow and the other clock goes fast. This analogy is not perfect. Similar point. Analogy means there must be a majority of similar points. Similar point is lacking because the one clock is moving. You'll start the other one moving, and one may go slow or one may go at higher speed. Shamasundar, I think it's like this, that the monad of the body desires a body like this, and the monad of the soul desires to inhabit a body like this, but they are separate entities, body and soul, and they work independently of each other. Prabhupada, it is not exactly the way it is. It says in the Vedic Shastras that the soul is the master of the body. Therefore, how can you say that the body is working independently? This body I am now liking to place my hand here, so I am desiring and the hand is there. Not that all of a sudden my hand, by not desiring, it is coming. Shamasundar. He would say, the act of your desiring and the act of the hand coming are simultaneous, but they are separate. Prabhupada, jugglery of words, it has no meaning. Shamasundar, just like the example of the rock falling in the water. He would say that the water separating and the rock falling are two separate acts. Neither one affects the other. Prabhupada, this is nonsense. This argument is called in Sanskrit Kakatal Nyaya. There was a tall tree, and one crow came, and immediately the fruit fell down. And there were two arguers. One said that the crow sat down on the fruit, and it was so light it fell down. And the other said, no, the crow was trying to sit down on the fruit, but in the meantime, the fruit fell, and he could not sit. It is like that. It may be coincident, the crow was just trying to sit on the fruit, and the fruit fell. But these people's answer is no. The crow first sat down, then it was falling. Another says, no, the fruit has fallen down. Therefore, the crow could not sit. So this kind of argument has no value. According, the water separated and the stone fell, they are nonsensical. Our argument is strong, that if Krishna desires, the stone can float on the water despite the law of gravitation. The law of gravitation is not working. So many huge planets are floating. How they are floating. We're continuing from several months ago. This is Prabhupada speaking with Shamasundara about the philosopher Leibniz. Oh, okay. Yeah, and the monads and like that. Mm-hmm. Again, if Krishna desires, the stone can float on the water despite the law of gravitation. The law of gravitation is not working. So many huge planets are floating. How they are floating. The law of gravitation is working here. The stone falls down and goes down in the water. But that is one of the ingredients of the planet. But the planet itself is floating in the air. Where is the law of gravitation? Therefore, Krishna's desire. The cause is Krishna's desire. Krishna wanted, let it be floating, where he has made some arrangement. By law of gravitation, every planet should have gone down, and there is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and broke his head because he is lying down in the Garbhodakashayi. So all the planets fall on him and he is dead. But no, by his order, they are all floated. That is Krishna. Is that all right? Or still more? Shamasundara. There's another page. This whole idea is so vague that the water parting and the rock falling are individual. Prabhupada, it is childish idea. Shamasundara. He says that each monad is given a characteristic nature by the central monad, who is God. Prabhupada, that's all right. Then why don't you take to the central monad? Shamasundara. He says that God is the supreme monad or pure activity. Prabhupada, I was speaking like that. If God desires, then the other monads have no independence. The same example as I told you. The stone is falling down in the water and the monads of the water giving way. It is falling down, but if God desires, the water will not give way. It will float. If God is the ultimate monad, that is possible. Therefore, there is no reason for disbelieving that when Ramachandra threw so many stones on the water of the sea, it began to float. You cannot disbelieve if Ramachandra is God and he is the ultimate cause. He can check. Whatever he wills will come into effect. Shamasundara. But the point of whether the monad of the rock causes the monads of the water to part. Prabhupada. These causes can be changed by God's will. Shamasundara. Yes, I understand that. But if the monad of the rock causes the monads of the water to part, or whether the monads of the water part independently. Prabhupada. That is all dependent on God's will. Shamasundara. That's a moot question. Prabhupada. Therefore, ultimate desire is God's. Shamasundara, just like the bird, whether the bird caused the fruit to fall, or whether the fruit happened to fall coincidentally, it doesn't matter. Is that the point? Prabhupada, yes, it is simply useless talk, because it is a fact that the fruit has fallen and the crow has flown away. Now, why should we bother? A waste of time. But both can be possible. These argument, one is saying that the bird sat down, which is the cause of falling of the fruit, and the other says the falling down is the cause of the birds not being able to sit on it. Both can be possible. But we say, therefore, the ultimate desire is of God. If God desired that the fruit would not fall, it would not have fallen. That is our proposition. Shamasundar, I think you said once that the devotee picks up the fruit and offers it to Krishna and eats it. Prabhupada, yes. We don't see the cause and effect. We see that the ultimate cause is Krishna. By Krishna's desire, we have got this nice thing. Offer it to Krishna and eat it. That's all. Shamasundar.
So it's basically, it's an example of kind of like the difference between mental speculation and philosophical speculation in relation to Krishna or the supreme cause.
I think that's a good way to say it. Yeah. Right. Yes. You're familiar with that example. The fruit fell and crow flew away.
Yeah.
So some say because the fruit fell, then the crow got startled and flew away. Some say no, because the crow was too heavy. The fruit fell first, and then the fruit fell. So Prabhupada said, anyhow, the devotee takes the fruit and offers it to Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of like that thought process of really delving into those types of questions, whether the crow or moved on its own or the fruit made it move, that would be
useless.
The science of that would that be like a Mayavadi or impersonalist or?
Yeah, I think that's the way to put it.
Question.
Useless mental speculation that that denies the ultimate cause.
Yeah, and that's how they would really have questions like that to kind of like meditate on, to kind of like make that stay in mind.
The Zen koan.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what it's called, a koan.
Koan?
Koan.
What's it?
Like meditate on the sound of one hand clapping, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Right. But meditate.
Yeah, you pretty much have to go numb just to try to
enter into it.
Yeah.
Right. Shamasundar. So whether Prabhupada. Yes, we don't see the cause and effect. We see that ultimate cause is Krishna. By Krishna's desire, we've got this nice thing, offer it to Krishna and eat it. That's all. Shamasundar. So whether the water's parting allowed the rock to fall in, or whether the rock caused the water to part, it doesn't really matter. Prabhupada, it is ultimately depending on God's will. That is the explanation. Shamasundar. He says that these monads are spiritual in nature, therefore they are immortal. Prabhupada, yes, that we admit, because Krishna and Krishna's will, both of them are spiritual. Yes. Shamasundar. So even the particle of matter is eternal. Prabhupada. Ultimately, everything is spiritual because the matter is Krishna's energy and spirit is also Krishna's energy. If Krishna is the original cause, therefore the matter can be changed into spirit. Spirit can be changed into matter. Just as it is the same electric energy acting as heater and as cooler. But the electrician, he can change the cooler to heater and the heater to cooler because the original cause is electricity. Similarly, the original cause is Krishna. So Krishna can change matter into spirit, spirit into matter. That is in his power. The rascals and fools, when Krishna appears in his own body, Atma Maya, they think it is just like material body. But they do not know that to Krishna there is no such distinction of material and spiritual. Even accepting that he had got a material body, there is no hamper. He is changed into spiritual body. Otherwise, how is it possible? Krishna, he has got material body. Now he was 7 years boy. Krishna is lifting the whole Govardhan hill. And as much as Krishna desires, let this big planet sun float in the air. So is it difficult for him to lift the whole hill? There is no difficulty at all. That is omnipotence. And those who cannot understand Krishna, avajananti mamuda, deride him. He is a man, therefore these are all stories. They have no idea of Krishna. But we don't take him as ordinary human being. Therefore he can change anything into anything, matter into spirit, spirit into matter, as he likes. That is his omnipotency. Otherwise, what is the meaning of omnipotency? Shamasundar. Because he is the central monad which controls all monads. Prabhupada, yes, everything. So taking the theory, the central monad and the other monad, the central monad is the cause of it, but he does not believe in the cause. Shamasundar, no, he believes that God is the cause, the designer of everything. Prabhupada, then why does he say there is no cause? Shamasundar, he says that there is no cause and effect relationship between monads. Prabhupada, that is not clear. Once he says there is no cause, there is cause. There is no other cause than God. That is definite. The real cause is God. Shamasundar, his idea is that when the bird landed, the fruit coincidentally fell. There is no cause between the bird and the fruit falling. Prabhupada, no, we say if Krishna desired, it would not have fallen. Krishna desired it. Krishna desires, let it fall down. Therefore it falls. That is the cause. Krishna desires that let the fruit fall down and the crow fly away. Shamasundar. He says that God is absolute necessity because he is governed by the law of contradiction and it is impossible to conceive of not God. Prabhupada, to God, there is no contradiction. That is absolute. Whatever he does, whatever he says, that is absolute. There is no contradiction. Shamasundar, because it is impossible to conceive of not God. In other words, God is absolutely necessary because to conceive not God is impossible. Prabhupada, that is artificial. The atheists say there is no God. So God is there, but he refuses to accept. Otherwise, why does he say there is no God? The idea of God is there, but he refuses to accept. And unless God is there, where from the idea is coming? The atheist, God is there, but he is refusing to accept. Just like the impersonalist. Unless you have got personal understanding, how will you try to make it impersonal? The first is personal. You try to make it impersonal. Shamasundar, otherwise, where does the impersonal idea come from? Prabhupada, yes, that is out of frustration. We see so many things, personal varieties, but they are not giving us satisfaction. Therefore, we are thinking in a negative way, impersonal, but the person is first. So Prabhupada describes the psychology behind impersonalism, psychology of frustration. Frustration in relationships. So we become frustrated with the idea that when we're fully realized there'll be eternal relationships. That's not very attractive.
No.
Right. If all we can conceive is my material experience relationship, I much prefer an impersonal conception of perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. The supreme source of all frustration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is relationship.
Yes. Yeah. So that Prabhupada. Yeah, pointing out why that comes up is because of the frustration, and brings it back and says the relationship comes first, the person comes first.
Yes.
And the impersonalist frustration situation, that's the temporary aspect, or the temporary.
Yes.
Not the so-called not God.
Prabhupada discusses this in the purport to Bhagavad Gita 4.10. The Sanskrit is Vitaraga Bhayakroda Manmaya Mamupashita Bhavogyan Sabasa Putamad Bhavamagata. And Krishna says there are many who free themselves from fear, attachment, and anger, and attained me. And Prabhupada describes different psychologies related to materialism and impersonalism and voidism.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like even the thought of, for myself, even the thought of even wanting to, like, even when we're talking about the you know, the difference between what they're questioning.
Yeah.
The water separating, moving out of the way, or the rock separating the water.
Right.
Right. Like, I'm not there. That's not where my mindset is. But I don't want. I'm hesitant to want to make the connection. I was more interested in how that relates philosophically, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the situation. But naturally, I kind of like hesitate to go to the connection that it's Krishna that's controlling that. So yeah, I can see that in myself.
You can see that
Maybe
psychology.
avoid wanting to even, yeah, I'm like somewhere in the middle, like on the fence, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm hesitant to even want to connect things to him, you know. Yeah, just
You can see yourself
ongoing
in,
frustration and then wanting to shut down to relationships. And yeah, it's very true.
and in that purport, yeah, Prabhupada describes that fear of relationship leads to impersonalism. And right, and then a further stage is anger when one becomes cheated again and again in the name of spiritual life, in the name of liberation, in the name of enlightenment. Then out of cynicism, they just turn to like a nihilistic punk rock voidism.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like at best some nice Buddhistic.
That sort of thing. It could be a gentle nihilism.
Yeah.
Right.
More of goodness and goodness nihilism.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was talking with Kelly. We were talking about these grungies. Talking about our grungy rackets, and that was one of my big ones. Was we were talking about how it shut down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, that was. I can't remember exactly what we discussed in that, where I was talking reasons why I shut down.
Yeah.
What the grungy with the payoff is, but then after, that's the day after we talked. That's what I came to. That's basically why I shut down, because I don't want. I'm shut down. Basically, intimacy. Basically, what it is. Yeah.
To intimate personal relation.
Yeah.
That gets at the core.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and sometimes it is like that. I remember in Mayapur, there was a nice, simple-hearted Brahmin boy from the villages in India. He's nice, very nice guy. He was my roommate. He was doing the Pujari course, and I was doing the whatever simple word that I know that I can't think of.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So he was helping me remember shlokas, and he was helping me do it like way faster, like 5 times faster.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I learned a shloka in like 10 minutes.
In association.
Yeah, where it was taking me hours and hours of trying repetition and still not getting it.
Okay.
And I felt like literally heartfelt gratitude towards him for that.
Yeah.
And my response was, when I felt that meant that I would be a personal connection with him, my reaction was just to like stop it all down, you know.
You closed your heart.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember it, but the last time that I felt like that was basically, I had a friend that was like high school, you know, I was capable of doing that, but I guess at that point, people around me weren't.
Okay. You were ready, but others in your environment were not.
Yeah, well, that's when I look back, I remember being,
Yes.
we were at a party and we were in the basement with my best friend. And I remember looking at him and basically feeling love for him.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment.
Yeah.
But when I look back at the qualities that I had in myself, I was at that point in my life, I wasn't incapable of having that.
Right.
You know, it was just, I guess, the people around me weren't capable of having it.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, so it's interesting the way that he's pointing this out.
Yeah.
Why it happens.
So we can maybe finish this section here.
Okay.
All right. Shamasundar, he says that men, because they are, Prabhupada says, the atheist demons are like that. If he exists to accept God, then he cannot work irresponsibly. To facilitate his sinful activities, he is denying that there is God. Shamasundar, he says that God is an absolute necessity because we cannot conceive not God. But man, individual men, are relative truths because they are not absolutely necessary. Because I can conceive that I am not here, that I may die. So he says that we are conditioned, that men are conditioned. They are governed by the principle of sufficient, and then there's something indistinct in the recording. Prabhupada, that we can see. There are so many politicians, they're very busy. They think that if I do not remain in the state, everything will collapse. But when he dies, everything goes on nicely without him. That is Maya. So many politicians work so hard up to the last point of his death. He was thinking that without me, everything will be topsy-turvy. But he dies in spite of his not willing to die. He dies, but things go on without depending on him. Therefore, God's will is working, the supreme will. You may think so many ways, that is a different thing. Actually, God's will is working. Shamasundar. He says that men are all dependent upon another he says that men are all dependent upon another being for their existence. They are contingent. Prabhupada, they are dependent. Then the conversation continues the next day. There's a break in the tape. Shamasundar. He says that the world could have been otherwise if God desired, but that he chose this particular arrangement, and from the standpoint of its ingredients, this is the best possible world. Prabhupada, yes, God can do anything he likes, but this world is planned not by God. It is given to the living entities who wanted to imitate God. So actually, the plan is according to the desire of the living entities who wanted to lord it over the material nature. God's plan is not this. It is exactly like the prison house is planned by the government because there are criminals. God's plan is come back home, giving everything up. Chaktvadeham punara iti mameti. His plan is to invite all the conditioned souls back to home, back to Godhead. He doesn't like the living entities to live here, but because they wanted to lord it over the material nature, they have been given that facility. Shamasundar. So from the standpoint of the ingredients of this world, material ingredients, is this the best possible world with those ingredients? Prabhupada, no, the spiritual world. There are spiritual ingredients. Shamasundar, I mean this world, just this earth planet, given the ingredients of the earth planet. Prabhupada, this planet is not a very good planet. There are many other planets thousands of times better. The more you go higher planetary systems, the comforts and amenities are 1,000 times better, one after another. The next planetary system is 1,000 times better than this planetary system, and the next planetary system 1,000 times better than that. Similarly, the standard of life, duration of life, they are bigger. Therefore, at the end, Brahmaloka, it is stated that 12 hours of the day of Brahma is incalculable by us. Immediately in the higher planets, suppose if one goes to the moon planet, he gets immediately 10,000 years duration of life. And their year, our 6 months, is equal to their 1 day. Such years. So there are better, more comfortable situations than here in the higher planetary systems. Shamasundar. Leibniz, his point of view is that he accepts the conditions of this material world as being all right. They are the best we can hope for, the best of a bad bargain. Prabhupada. But Bhagavad Gita says that it is the place for miseries only. Krishna says, Dukalayam Ashashvatam. It is a place simply for suffering, and that also we cannot stay for a long time. Even if you agree to stay in this uncomfortable situation of life, still you will not be allowed. You have to change this place, change this body. That may go higher or lower. Therefore, this life, the material life, is on the whole, it's miserable. There is no question of any happiness. Shamasundar. He says that because God has freedom of will, God decided it would be best to give man such freedom of will. Prabhupada, yes, because every living entity is part and parcel of God, although very minute portion. Similarly, proportionately, he has minute proportion of freedom of will, not absolute. That is natural. Every man has got a little freedom of will, but it is not absolute. A man cannot will as he likes. That is not possible. Therefore, it is said, man proposes, God disposes. Although the freedom of will is there, it is subordinate to the freedom of will of God. You cannot fulfill your desire unless it is sanctioned and approved by God. Shamasundar. He says that the fact that there is more good than evil in this world justifies its creation. Prabhupada, well, good and evil is according to his angle of vision. A devotee sees in this material world everything is good. Vishwa Purnam Sukhaya. People are complaining, they are in distress condition. But a devotee sees that there is no distress condition, that it is all happy condition because he lives with Krishna. He dovetails everything with Krishna. He dovetails himself also with Krishna. Therefore, for him, there is no misery. Shamasundar, he says that if it would not have been worth creating, that God would not have created the world. The fact that he created it makes it worth creating. Prabhupada, yes, that is stated in the Vedas. Purnam idam, the creator is complete, and the creation is also complete. Purnat purnam udachyate. Nothing can come out incomplete, which is created by the complete. So in that sense, everything wanted in this world, the arrangement is there, complete. Shamasundar. He says that although some schools of philosophy, especially in Britain, said that the mind is a blank slate at the time of birth, Leibniz defended the fact that there are necessary truths which are implanted in the mind before birth. These are innate truths like mathematical truths. There are certain necessary truths that a person is born with, that he can understand being implanted in his mind, just like mathematical proofs, 2 + 2 is equal to 4. That is a necessary truth with which a person is born. Prabhupada, yes, that truth is devotion. Everyone wants to be devoted to somebody else. And because such devotion is misplaced, he becomes unhappy. When that devotional spirit will be rendered to the Supreme Person, then he will be happy. But the devotional spirit is there. Shamasundar, everyone is born with this? Prabhupada, yes, just like this child. He was asked to obey, immediately he offered obeisances. So this is devotion. Every politician, everyone has got some followers. That means the devotional spirit is there. Even a rogue, dacoit, plunderer, he has got also some follower. And one could not follow others without devotional spirit, is it not? Therefore, this devotional spirit is innate in everything. That is truth. Shamasundar, is this the only necessary truth that one is born with, or are there others? Prabhupada, this is the prime truth. The method of devotional service and other ideas, they are included, but the basic principle is devotional service. Shamasundar, for instance, Leibniz says that concepts of mathematics are necessary truths, like 2 + 2 is equal to 4. Someone is born with that knowledge. Prabhupada, so this is also mathematical truth, because even the Aborigines, they also offer obeisances to thunderbolt. As soon as there is some sound of thunderbolt, or as soon as there is earthquake, they offer obeisances, any big natural phenomenon. That means the devotion is there, but that devotional service is misplaced so long as one does not reach God. Shamasundar. Leibniz states that there is nothing in the intellect which was not previously in the senses, except the intellect itself. In other words, all of our knowledge comes through our senses, except the fact, Prabhupada, and it is banked in the intellect. That is a fact. That is in the intellect.
Oh.
It's all stored in the intellect. That is a fact. That is permanent. Therefore, even if we change our body, still we can find out our means of living by that inherent intellect. That is advertised as intuition. But this intuition is previous experience only. That's the conclusion of that chapter on the philosopher Leibniz.
Yeah, so he was just saying that the knowledge that we acquire through the senses, all those experiences get banked in the intelligence, and that's intuition.
That's what we call intuition.
Material intuition.
Material intuition. Yeah, it gives the example just like a puppy is born and the puppy immediately knows where to go for milk. Right? And so you can call it instinct, but sometimes Prabhupada calls that intuition. Yeah. Shiram Yadavapnoti Achapit Kamanishram, Sri Chaitanya Samiti, Ayurgandana Dashaya, Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, Krishna says, that just as the air carries aromas, the soul carries its conceptions from one body to the next. Just like the air carries aromas. So we carry our different experiences and impressions in our subtle body.
Yeah. And then that comes in the next life through the intuition.
Yeah, the natural knowing. If we're born as a human or a dog or a tree, that's that natural instinctive knowing.
And what's the relation to that to the Paramatma? That would be like that. I thought that it would come from Paramatma, but it's just like an indirect.
Yeah, I think it does come from Paramatma. Yeah, like the guy developed a particular impressions, intuitions, and then if according to my consciousness, I'd essentially created in the future the body of the dog, and Paramatma reminds me how to bark. Yeah, through the intellect, through the subtle body. Yes.
Yeah, but we're just relating to those impulses indirectly, not directly. We're not directly relating that to Paramatma. We're indirectly relating it to Paramatma through like my experiences or these impulses, like the natives. They're offering obeisances to the lightning.
Right.
So that impulse to offer the obeisances or that feeling that they have, that's a connection with Paramatma or Krishna. But they're just relating it in an indirect fashion through material nature, with directing it towards the light.
Yes. Right. So that's you might say it's filtered through our material, subtle and gross bodies. So it's a relationship with Paramatma, and which is different than one who's fully realized. Then it's a very direct channel with Paramatma between soul and super soul. Yes. Krishna says, from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So the intuition, the remembrance, it says from Krishna through his expansion as Paramatma. Yeah.
on that a little bit. Sometimes I can see something. Most of the time, lack of memory is just frustrating. But there's definitely times where I could see where there was some purpose there in those moments at least. I could kind of like not be frustrated by it.
There's some higher plan here or something. Yeah. And then like when we're sleeping and dreaming, the soul has lost conscious connection with the gross physical body. All right. And then when we're in deep sleep, the soul has lost conscious connection with the gross and subtle body. So then that would indicate that in deep sleep, kind of like Paramatma is directly keeping the heart beating. It's like the energy of Paramatma, keeping the physiology function.
Oh yeah.
It would seem to me, yeah, that's my understanding. And Prabhupada says similar. That's my understanding from Prabhupada. Yes.
So is there dreaming in the deep sleep then? Would that be considered the body kind of the soul kind of having something similar to another body experience, or is there dreaming in that state?
In that state, there's not dreaming.
No.
It is an out of body experience. Yeah, because like the soul, in a sense, is detached from the gross and subtle bodies, the gross and subtle material bodies. Mm-hmm. In a sense, it's a state of deep peace. It's called susupti, and so then the super soul is keeping things going.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's given as an evidence in Bhagavatam that when we wake up from deep sleep, so during deep sleep we have no consciousness. When we wake up, we know, oh, I slept deeply. So it indicates that there is some entity, the spirit soul, that is constant. Otherwise, when we woke up, we wouldn't have a clear sense, oh, I slept deeply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's some sort of part of you that understands that. Despite the fact of going through that time frame where you have no memory of it or anything like that. There is some level that you're aware of it.
Right.
It's something continuous.
Right. It's an indication of the existence of the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it is an out of body experience. It's a sort of death. But then the soul comes back to the body and we remember all our desires and all our anxieties and things like that.
Yeah. Two things, but I remember reading that the energy of the soul comes through into the heart. Like the soul powers the heart, the body through the I can't remember what it's like. There's like a specific. I can't remember the term. It's something that comes into the blood in the heart, where the actual energy of the soul.
Okay.
Do you remember reading that?
Where?
I can't remember where I read it.
Okay.
But I know it was Prabhupada. I remember that
Yeah.
it says that.
I think it's
like the consciousness is carried through the body through the blood.
Yeah, it's a purport in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's like a specific. Yeah. A specific cell or something like that. Yeah. A very specific thing that he mentions.
Corpuscles or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, that's the normal way that we're connected to that we're energizing the body or keeping it alive. When you go into deep sleep, it's getting directly from Paramatma. But also there was another more directly related to this, where you're saying there was one time where it was a momentary where I just had like a flash of impression of everything that I had
Yeah.
in this life. And it was almost like something from a movie where I could almost like walking through like a tube, you know, like sometimes we'll have in the movies and you get this image will be flashing up on the side. And so it was like that. It was like all these experiences and visions on this in this tube of a hallway.
Yeah.
And then in the center was me that was just unaffected by all of it. And I could sense this inner peace, this whatever my soul or my consciousness that was, or not even necessarily my consciousness, but like just the literal
The soul.
sense of my soul, of myself. That was the consciousness can be contaminated by these things, but the soul
is actually
get
pure.
contaminated by it. Yeah. So that's what I was feeling.
An experience of the pure soul.
On some level.
On some levels, yeah. And it made a deep impression on you.
Yeah. So it's, I guess, kind of connects to what you're saying about this going through the deep sleep.
Deep sleep, yeah.
Some other type of
state of consciousness that was similar.
Yeah.
That was similar. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Bhakti Vedanta Swami.